Now let's take a look at how we'd turn this 2D mechanism into a 3D mechanism. Right now it's just a draft file. We'd like to go up here to Tools, and under Tools we see this 3D Create. I'm going to go to Browse, pick a metric part file, double click on that. I'll hit Next. Then I'm just going to box pick this area with the dimensions, and I'll go to Options and make sure my linear, radial and angular dimensions are on. Then just say Next and Finish. That jumps me over from a draft file into a 3D part file. See, that's in 3D now. Now I'd like to create 4 individual parts that represent these links. And I'm going to start by going to Symmetric Offset, and brings up my options form. And my width, I'm going to choose 8, and I'm going to turn off the Apply Radius fillet and select the Offset Arc. Hit OK, and I'll start with the ground, and it highlights the whole mechanism because it's on chain as the default. I just want single. Now when I select this, green check mark, there's my first link. And I'm going to add a couple of circles right to the center here. And I'll make those 3. Then all I need to do is just extrude this. And I'll extrude that at 2. And I'm going to do a file save as, and I'll create a folder called 4bar. Open up the folder, and I'll call this first part ground. Now, there's lots of ways to do this, but I'm going to just go out here to this 50, my first link, and change it to say 15. Then do a file, save as, and I'll call this second part crank. And I'll save that as crank. Then my third piece at 60, I'll go back to this and change it to 60. And do another file, save as, and I'll call this the rocker. And my last part was 80, so I'll go and modify this to 80. And again, file, save as, and I'll call this the coupler. Now I can close out of this part because I've created all new pieces here, new links. I'll close out of this, and I can close out of my original draft file, 2D. And I'm just simply open up a new metric assembly file. Go over here to my parts library, just along the side, parts library. And I'm just going to that folder out there, 4bar. It's in my solid edge files. And I'll go out and drag in this ground. And I want to drag in the ground first because that puts a ground constraint on this piece. As you can see when I identify it here, see the ground constraint right there. Then I can go back, parts list, and let's drag in the crank. And I can connect this piece and hesitate, right mouse click. I'd like to lock that to that. Go back to my rocker, drag the rocker in, and I'll hit fit. Want to align this to this, and I'd like to hesitate, right mouse click. Now these are laying over the top of each other, so what I can do is just identify either one of these parts, can just drag the wheel over, center it on the circle, and I can just spin that out, spin it out, put it in its own location. Another way I can do this is just simply say drag component, take the default, and I could just drag that around also. We just sort of set it up close to where it needs to be. Go back to my parts library, to the coupler, drag the coupler in, and constrain the coupler. These circles. Let's see, where do I want this? Might make sense to take this back face and just constrain it, mate it to this face. Hit select or clear, and there's my mechanism.